Hi, this is Meg Lightheart from megalightheart.com. All this week we've been talking about the age of overwhelm, and this is the final video about the final practical chapter in the book, where she talks about less depletion and more stamina. So we're really talking about how we'll be in this for the long haul. And symptoms of depletion kind of obvious are that really bone deep exhaustion, which comes from lots of places, but you begin to notice it when you have inattention to detail, when you're procrastinating, when missing deadlines or quality of care is dropping. And a couple of things contribute, or symptoms of, it's unclear where the cause and effect is. One of the things, and I kind of hesitate about talking about this because I know people are pretty sensitive about this, but caffeine is noticing your relationship to caffeine, because as a society we're built on caffeine, and caffeine doesn't give us rest. It's not, in our house we joke about it as a nap replacement, that I go for a nap and they have a nap replacement, but it doesn't really replace sleep. It just fools the brain. It blocks the adenosine receptors. Adenosine is the chemical that builds up in your brain when you're tired, which tells you need to sleep. And what caffeine does is it just blocks the receptors for that, so that the chemical's still building up, but you're just less aware of it. But if you feel very sensitive about me talking about this, then it's just something to notice, and think about that fatigue that comes, that the life can only be lived supported by caffeine. I mean, I had to give it up just because it's making me anxious and emotional, so I got to a point where I just had to cut it out completely. And the no caffeine life is hard, and I do miss it sometimes. And then the other part, apart from physical and emotional fatigue, is also decision fatigue, and you know that you've got decision fatigue when you begin to want to make reckless decisions, or just can't make a decision, and or want to defer it or give it to someone else. And when we talked earlier on some other video, I talked about willpower, and willpower is whenever we are not doing something we're tempted to do, and decisions spend your willpower a lot, and you only get a certain amount of willpower per day, which is depleted but by lots of different things. So to build up stamina, we really, and this is my take on it, it's what Julia Cameron from The Artist's Way talks about, having overfished the pond. And so how do we restock the pond? And I suppose that's a question to go, what do you find nourishing, and how do you do more of that nourishing? And here are some things that might trigger you to think, and these are suggestions that she has in the book. One of the things is to simplify, so you're making fewer decisions during the day. Can you do things the night before or the beginning of the week, whatever, so you don't have to choose what to have for lunch, choose what to have for dinner. I'm aware we're in the middle, at the time of recording, we're in the middle of the COVID-19 lockdown, and I'm planning what I'm doing the night before in order, so that I don't have to make those decisions during the day. So the fewer decisions you can have, and the more routine, or the right level of routine for you, can mean you're spending less of your decision making willpower and saving it for other things. She talks about connecting mind and body, and either through like really attentive mind-body practices, like boxing. I know friends of mine box, or my friend Oscar does Qigong online sometimes, and that takes full attention to your whole body. From that couple of times I've done it, it was really challenging and refreshing and restoring at the same time. But even just making sure that you're being grateful to your body by resting when you can and eating as well as you can and staying hydrated, doing the things that you feel most passionate and least neurotic about as much as you can, and practicing awareness. If you go back, scroll back wherever you're watching these, and you'll find a whole week of awareness practices, and it might be worth going and looking at those as ways of building up your stamina in the long haul. She also talks about looking at art, listening to music, even appreciating the craft of someone else doing something really, really well. That can be nourishing. Laughter can be nourishing. My favourite podcast is Mary Hegler and Amy Westervelt have this climate crisis podcast called Hot Take, and they're talking about really serious climate writing, and there's a lot of laughter, and that laughter helps to process the awfulness of what's happening, and it really helps to demonstrate to me to go, we can be serious about the work, but we don't have to. We need levity, we need lightness in order to continue in the long haul. Community is important, and I think a podcast is an interesting example of that, because yes, there are people who are close to us. I think of it as my sparkle list. Okay, don't laugh. Well, you can laugh. Of people, there's 6 people who I go. These are people who I need to have regular conversations with. They're people who feed my soul. And yes, so we have those people who are close to us, but sometimes community comes from people who are further removed, or even strangers on the internet. Your favourite podcast can be beautifully replenishing. Hot Take is beautifully replenishing. There's this great podcast called Marsha's Plate, which is recommended by a trans sister of mine, which is incredibly replenishing as a trans person to hear these trans people talking. And then the final 2 are spirituality and religion, whatever that means to you. That real sense of deep time, the way that traditions, almost all traditions, have the importance of reflection, and can you build in that reflection, but also that connection to the thing that's bigger than us. And if that's something in your life, can you connect more consciously to your spiritual or religious tradition? And finally, with that sense of connecting to something bigger, there's connecting to nature. And the bit in The Age of Overwhelm that really connected with me was, it doesn't mean, like in one of the previous videos we were talking about, walking in nature and getting the dirt in your nose. Not literally the dirt in your nose, but there's a microbiome that goes in your nose which increases your serotonin. But the thing that really struck home with me was, almost no matter where you are, you can look at the sky. I really like that. Connecting to the sky, that sense of bigness. Even if we take 5 minutes to look at the sky, that can be replenishing. I go and see my mum, and she lives right by the sea, and it blows my mind sometimes to think that the sea's been going in and out for millions, billions of years, and it doesn't stop. Like, it's constant, the in and out both the in and out of the tides, but also the in and out of the waves. And no matter what happens in the next year, the next 50 years, 100 years, 200 years, 500 years, 1,000, 10,000 years, the ocean is still going to be coming in and out. And something about connecting to those really big stretches of time can give us perspective and feed us. So finishing this week, I suppose we're thinking about what replenishes you in a really deep sense, because if we're going to be persisting in this life and doing what's right, then we need to have stamina and not be worshipping exhaustion and burnout, but making sure that we're in this for the long haul. So I suppose spend some time reflecting on what are the things that really bring you nourishment, and can you do more of them? Thanks for being with me all week. It's been a different format this week, looking at someone else's stuff. I hope you found it useful. If you're looking for some space to think these kind of things through, I have some space for coaching clients. So if you go to megalightheart.com and have a look at the coaching packages that are on there, see if you want to book in a call with me to explore if that might be right for you. I'd be really happy if you have steady income, if you became a monthly patron, to support me producing this kind of content, and share this with your friends, or share this with people who you think you might appreciate it. Comment or ask questions, click like. If you enjoyed this format of a book summary over a week, then let me know, because I've got plenty of other books that we could do this with. So thanks very much for your attention. I'll see you next week with a totally new topic. I'm Meg Lightheart from megalightheart.com, and I'll see you next week.